Hey, I'm Scotty T from Your Comedy Minute. I've got some real exciting stuff today. I've got a man who is in Italy. We're working our way around the world. Scott Shanahan's with me today. Scott, thank you for being here, man.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
All,
Obviously
all the
not originally from Italy, but
I know,
yes,
I know. That was my
but I
first
do live
question.
in Italy. I do live in Italy. Yes.
Well, let's start with where you're from. I heard Tennessee. Is that right?
No, that is
No.
not correct. I actually grew up in Massachusetts. I was born in New Hampshire. I grew
Okay.
up in Massachusetts. I joined the Navy. I moved
Okay.
to Atlanta. I
Okay.
was there for about 6 years, and then my wife is from Tennessee, and we
All
lived
right.
there for about a year when we first got married. And then we've been there. We've kind of lived overseas for a long time, and we've been in and out. So Tennessee is her home, so it's sort of become my home. That's the
Okay.
Tennessee connection. But
We
yeah, but I'm originally from Massachusetts. Really.
originally from Massachusetts. And do you mind me asking how? And you say you've been overseas different. How did you end up in Italy?
It's a little bit of a long story, but we were living in Micronesia, which
All
is
right.
the islands north of the equator, west of the international date line in the Pacific,
Okay.
and we were there for 12 years, working with the church there, and
Okay.
then we moved to Ireland, and Ireland refused to give us a visa. But the funny thing is, with Ireland, we moved there. They told us, well, you can't stay. So then, and by the way, my name is Scott
I
Patrick
was just gonna
Shanahan.
say Shanahan. You should have been admitted. You should have gotten in by default.
If anywhere on earth I should be allowed to live, it's Ireland. But they said no, they didn't see it that way, and so
Right.
we went back to the States, heard about an opportunity here in Florence, Italy, and that's the Reader's Digest version, the
That's
short
fine.
version
That's fine.
of
Well,
how we got here. Yeah.
okay. When did you first start doing comedy? And before you answer, I watched a video because before I have someone on, I try and do a little research.
Okay.
And I watched a video on YouTube today that was 7 years ago. And in the video, you said it was your first time ever doing comedy. So was that
So
true?
there you go. Yes, that was. So
Okay.
actually, it's not. It's a I suppose it's not technically true because I don't. I think I forgot about this until you just asked me
That's what
when
I
was the
shoot
first.
for. I try and surprise people.
That's right. When I was in seventh grade, I did. We had a
Okay.
talent show. We had a talent show at school, and I did Howie Mandel's two of Howie Mandel's bits, and
Love Tally.
and
Love.
I
Yeah.
and then I basically got booed off the stage and didn't do it again until 7 years ago. So I guess I would have. Now I would have thought that was 9 years ago. I was thinking it was like 9 years ago, but maybe no, seven is about seven,
Well,
eight
it might
years
have
ago.
been uploaded 7 years ago. It just said 70. But I gotta say, even though you said it was your first time and stuff, I wasn't sure that I believed you because you were really good.
Thank you, thank you. Oh, I really appreciate that.
No, you were
That was
for that's why I asked. I thought, well, maybe he's, just saying that is part of his show, or part of your bit. But I was like, God, you were polished for your first gig.
well, thank you. I know, it was a really fortunate first gig. It was my first, and
Yeah.
it was at the where do you live? I'm sorry, to
I
not know
don't
that.
really like to disclose that. Why are you going to come? Are you going to come and
No,
make me dinner? No, I'm kidding you. How
no, no, no.
else- You don't want to come here. Trust me. Nobody.
Okay.
York, Pennsylvania, where the men are men and the sheep are scared.
Is that right? Okay. Okay. So
That's
I was just visiting Atlanta. We lived overseas at the time. I was visiting Atlanta, and I did the Laughing Skull Lounge open mic, and it's probably, from my experience, it's like the best open mic in America because
okay.
it's at a comedy club with a paid audience. The audience paid to come see comedy. So you're not
Okay.
like like when you do a open mic at like a coffee shop or a
It's
bar, and
all
you almost feel
common. It's
like.
all comics.
Right. Yeah. And the people that are there just to eat a muffin or something, you're like the Jehovah's Witnesses of of comedy, of entertainment. Hey, we don't want to bother you, and nobody's paying attention. Well, that's what the video you saw. My first experience was such a good experience, and it did go well that night. I did my next open mic. I did three the same night. A week later, a week after that, and it went from bad to worse. I mean, it was just like bombed. And then I went to the next open mic. I said, "Well, I'll try something else." That was worse. And then by the
Right.
third one, the wheels had completely come off, and it was tough. So yeah. So anyway, so yeah, about 7 years ago, and then I wouldn't say though that I've been doing comedy for 7 years, just because of the way we've been overseas. We were on a little island where
Yeah.
interestingly enough, there turned out to be a comedy opportunity there, which was crazy.
Yeah.
Um, and then I can talk about that in a minute. And
I was gonna
then
say
we
you
moved
could
to
talk about
Ireland.
that.
We went to Ireland. I did a couple of shows in Ireland, and then there was like a 2 or 3 year period where I didn't do any. And then
Okay.
about 2 or 3 years ago, that doesn't really add up, does it? About 2 years ago, I guess I decided to start a show here in Florence, and then I got connected to several other people who wanted to do comedy, and now we have a pretty good scene here in Florence. We have shows every week. There's shows in Rome, shows in Milan. So I do English and Italian both,
Well,
and
that was gonna be a question because I had somebody on, but I want to get back before we get on to that. We will get on to that in a minute. But I wanted to ask you when you started doing comedy, I ask almost everyone on here, was there a catalyst that made you start that you said, you know what, I want to do comedy?
yeah, like most people who try it, I've always been a big fan, and I was seeing a lot of bad comedy, and I thought I seen
That'll that'll
people who
inspire
were
you to make some good comedy, won't it?
right, right, and I'm not.
Right.
That's not to say that all the comedy I've made is great or anything, but I remember I was sitting with my wife at breakfast one morning. We were out to breakfast, and I said, I think I want to try to do stand up, and she was like, okay. And she said, "Well, yeah, you're funny, so go for it." And it was that I just saw so many people doing it who I thought I'm funnier than that person, so I
Yeah.
want to I want to try it. And and so I have, and then and I learned kind of through trial and error that just being funny in conversation or with your friends or with your family does not translate to being funny on stage.
No.
Um, and so I've had to learn. I kind of learned that the hard way. I guess we all do.
Right.
But yeah, yeah. But that was the catalyst, is just seeing bad comedy and thinking,
Yeah,
well, if
no,
they can do
that's
it, I
good
can.
catalyst. That's a real good
Yeah.
catalyst. Well, let's get back now because I just had, and the reason I paused there is because I just had a young lady on, um, Majo or Maria. She's a Hispanic girl, a Mexican girl, and she's in Canada. And
Mhm.
ironically, she wanted to learn English so she could do shows in English. But
Mhm.
now, as it turns out, she's getting paid more for her to do a Spanish speaking show.
Isn't that
And
isn't
that
that
was,
something?
yeah, and that's why I thought, because that's something I wrote down, and you answered it already that you do them in English and Italian, right?
Yeah, yeah, I do. I mean, I speak Italian okay, but when I do, it's funny. A lot of my stuff in Italian sometimes goes better. Now you can't. Some of my jokes you can translate, but a
I
lot of
was
them you
gonna
can't. I have to
say,
like, yeah, I have to. Probably 75% is just for an Italian audience,
right, right,
because
right.
it doesn't always translate well. But part of my appeal when I do it in Italian is like, are you familiar with the comedian Ismo? He's kind
No,
of he's gotten more popular in the last couple of years,
okay,
and he's hilarious. He's from I want to say Norway, but that might not be correct. But some one of the northern European countries, and he's in the States doing comedy. And he's really a part of a lot of the funny is just him sort of trying to navigate the English language and stuff. And so I can get laughs just because of my accent almost,
right,
and the people see me as kind of cute, so I get a
yeah,
lot of. It's actually a little bit easier for me in Italian because of that. There's sort of advantages there. Um,
yeah.
and
I would think that just because they probably don't expect you to come up there and start going in Italian. But you
Yeah, they
did
really
touch
don't.
on the thought that I had, like she was saying, that jokes in Spanish don't know, or jokes in English that she can't do, that they don't translate well.
Yeah, no, because especially like a lot of English humor is wordplay, and they don't have, they don't have the same words. So now you can do
Right.
Italian wordplay, obviously, but it's just different. It doesn't really
Yeah, right.
translate. Yeah, I had I the other night I actually just performed I guess Friday night in Italian, and
Okay.
my first joke was I've lived in Italy for 5 years, and I'm obviously not Italian, but after 5 years, I'm fascist. And because they kind of like invented fascism here, so that got a huge laugh, and I was really, and once you break that ice,
Yeah.
you can do pretty well. And so I talk about like mistakes I make in Italian, where I've I've actually instead of wishing somebody a happy new year, I wish them a happy anus, and like these mistakes that I make.
Right.
And there's it's good, and I like doing it in Italian. It's a little bit more nerve wracking, but
Yeah.
and I'm just in crowd work is hard, and actually
I don't
yeah,
mean to laugh.
because like no, like if I say somebody, oh, so what do you do? They'll say something. I'll be like, I have
Buddy,
no idea what you're talking about.
he just told me my shoes have cheese on them.
Right, exactly. So thankfully, I haven't had to deal with a heckler in Italian. That could get
It
ugly
wouldn't
for
really
me.
matter. What'd you
Yeah,
say?
right. I don't know what you're saying. So you know,
Just sit there
maybe
and
that'd be a good way to
smile.
do it.
Thank you,
Yeah,
sir.
exactly.
Thank you. Well, I want to
Yeah,
shift gears a little bit because, uh, again, it was kind of hard for me to track stuff down because, like your Facebook page, I went over and there was a post there, and I guess that's where I got Tennessee because you did a clean comedy show with my buddy Tom Padovano, who was on
yeah.
this show, and I was so blessed to have Tom. I called him a comedy legend, and
He is.
I mean, yeah, and I didn't know the story. I mean, when he, asked me, about coming on, I was like, okay. And it wasn't until after I, like with you, where I do the research and I found out, man, he wrote jokes for Rodney Dangerfield. He wrote jokes for
Right.
Joan Rivers and Phyllis
Don't remember.
Diller. And, so you can't help but call him a comedy legend. And I wanted to touch on not just that show, but clean comedy overall. Is that what you would say you do?
Yeah. Uh, I'm a Christian, so I don't usually I don't curse anyway. And
Okay.
so and so that transforms on stage as well. So I, yeah. And so it's funny, the Clean Comedy Challenge, the time I did it with Tom, that was my third time to do it.
Okay.
And I talked about how the first or the second open mic series I did three, and it went from
Right,
bad,
right,
worse,
right.
and like awful. So the first time I did the Clean Comedy Challenge, I think was in 2018, maybe 2017. I can't remember now, but I did it, and I was like really green, and it's a really cool thing. If you ever if you ever want to do it, you meet a lot of really cool people, and it's pretty fun. But you do 3 nights, and you
Wait a
get like
second.
three
Wait a
minutes.
second. Let me pump the brakes here.
Yeah,
You think I could do a clean comedy show?
no, probably not. But if we ever got to where you could, I've watched some of your. I've been watching your videos. And, oh, okay,
There's the first piece of real humor we've had during this.
there we
Thank
go.
God you lightened it up a little. Scotty T
Yeah.
doing a clean comedy show.
Hey,
Thank you
hey,
very
anything's
much.
fun.
Take care.
Yeah. I
That's
mean,
all.
you
Hi,
could
how are you?
join
I'm
it.
Scotty T from your comedy minute. All right, now take care.
Yeah.
It'd be the
You could
shortest
uh
show in history.
you could sign up. You might not make it past the first night, but yeah. But no, the
Sorry.
first time I
I'm
did it, I don't know if you've
I'm
had this
sorry.
kind of.
I,
No, you're fine.
you, you just you just lobbed that one up for me. You just
Yeah,
I have to admit when you said, "Well, I've seen some of your stuff."
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think the folks from christianmingle.com are going to be over.
They're not coming knocking. They're not. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't do well on christianmingle.com either.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sorry.
One of my
I'm s-
favorite things is because I do work clean. but I'll work any room, and I'll work with comics. And afterwards, when you talk to people, they say, well, what's your day job? And I'll say I'm a preacher, and which is not 100% what I do now. It's what I did a
Oh,
lot.
you know what?
Yeah.
I almost said holy hell.
Well, there you go. Actually, you just did say it. So
I
there you go.
know, I know, I know.
So
I can't help myself, preacher. I
no, but
repent I repent for saying that.
so this is what happens is this
I
is
didn't know
funny.
you were a preacher. I would have never had you on, for God's sakes.
There
Holy heck.
you go.
Now
So
I
no,
gotta
but
be
what
now the rest of the show I'm gonna be giddy.
you don't have to be clean. That's fine. But my
I'm
favorite thing
teasing.
is when we have that conversation, this happens like almost 100% of the time, is
Right.
they'll apologize to me. They'll be like, "Oh, I'm sorry for my stuff." And I always tell them, "You don't have to apologize to me. You're the one going to hell. I don't, I don't it doesn't bother me."
One going to- do you
So
remember the church lady on Saturday Night Live?
yeah,
Well,
yes, I
how's
do.
it feel with that prickly heat in your groin area there, Ricky?
There you go. Yeah, but
Oh,
so
you're
the first time
killing me.
well, the first time I did that challenge, again, I was really green. I'd only done a few open mics, and the first night I get up, and I mean I bombed, and I was like, "Ooh, that was bad." And everybody else did really well. There's probably like 17 of us. The second night, I was like, "Okay, well, I'm gonna really do well tonight," and it was worse. And I went back to my hotel, and I told my wife, I said that this is it. I'm obviously not good at comedy. I'm not doing this again.
I give
And
up.
but there's 3 nights, and I paid for it, so I was like, I paid the registration fee, so I was like, I'm doing my third night,
Right.
and you only have 2 minutes the third night, okay?
Okay.
And for 2 minutes, I destroyed. I mean, I just killed for 2 minutes straight,
Okay.
and um, and then I'm like, okay, well, now I'm not going to quit now. It's just like I don't know if this happens to you ever, but especially when I was first starting out, I would have a good night, then I'd have a series of bad nights. I'd be like, well, I'm just going to quit. And then I'd have another good night to keep me going.
Sure. Enough
And
to keep you going.
right, it kind of moves you to, okay, well, maybe I can do it again. So, and
Well,
here I
now
am now.
let's go then. If we're going that way, do you feel like now, uh, because you mentioned something there about just being funny with your friends and stuff versus getting up on stage and stage presence. I used
Mm-hmm.
to work. You don't know this because again we're just meeting, but I worked in the music business, and the
Okay.
running joke used to be, that girl thinks stage presence are gifts that come to the stage. She had no stage presence at all. And I
Yeah.
think that that's important. And then there's a whole lot of other with comedy, with music, you have musicians and other, band members. You can hide behind the guitar, the drums.
Mm-hmm.
When you're doing stand-up comedy, it's just you and the microphone and maybe a chair. But
Yeah.
there's really no safety net, and there's a lot of nuances to the pauses and the different the facial reactions or anything. I get a lot of people saying, God, the face you make, and my face is pretty good anyway. So, but yeah, there's so much to it. But my question, I got long-winded to ask you the question. Do you feel like now you're at the top of your game?
Well, I don't know if I would say I'm at the top of my game. I'm sure I have more room for improvement.
Oh yeah, but
But yeah, one of the things that's kind of so as somebody who has done public speaking for a while
okay.
is I had a bit of an advantage when I first started, which was I knew how to read a crowd. I don't
Yeah.
know how many times I've done shows with people who were bombing and did not seem to notice. It's like, hey, do you not notice that nobody's laughing? And like, you know what I mean? Like, so can you not read this room that you're,
Yeah.
or like, and one thing that I've gotten to a point now, I did a show a couple weeks ago, and it was an outdoor show. It was a lot of like drunk young people, and
Okay.
they were just they they were not they didn't want to hear material,
Yeah.
but the people who were other people who were performing would get up and just try to do their material and just try to force this audience to listen to this material and just bombing. And so, and part of stage presence, I think, is also just knowing the room you're in, or in this case, the
Yeah,
patio I was on,
sure.
and just do like so. I just got up and did crowd work, and they got involved, and now they're paying attention, and now I can slip material in,
Right.
and that comes with experience. So I think that's one of the things that has really helped me over time is just saying I don't have to do this material. I don't have to be married to it. You know what I mean? I have to entertain the crowd. That's why I'm here.
Yeah.
I have to get laughs because I'm doing comedy,
Yeah.
but as long as you get them engaged with crowd work, conversation and then that for me that night really went well. Where if we're and that sounds maybe
For a
snobby,
whole lot of other comedians, it didn't go well.
did not because they
Yeah.
were just so and they're kind of green too because we have a kind of a growing scene here
Yeah.
and it's they tried to force this material and sometimes you can't so
Yeah.
you know but
Well,
yeah
it's
and
funny.
but
It's
but
funny.
the thing sorry stage presence you have to be on that if especially I mean most crowds if you get on that stage and you don't I hate to say this cliche but you don't own that stage like you look like you don't belong there they will eat you alive and they will not find you funny you know
Well, I think you got to burn too. I think what I'm hearing, and just in other words, when I say burn, again, I equate a lot to the music business where
mm-hmm.
you better get up and you better get them quick.
Yes,
If you don't get them quick, and you lose them, it's hard to get them back. You got to get them quick with
100%.
something in the beginning. They always say like
Yeah,
your first joke, what's your first joke? Because I think that's important to try and get people settled in. Otherwise, like I say, if you start losing them, people start talking over here, before you know
yep,
it, you've lost everybody. So
yeah, for
also
sure.
one other quick note, because you brought it up, as far as playing and knowing the crowd or looking out and realizing. I had a young man on here, Corey Albert, who did he played he called it a he said it was all senior citizens, 70, 80-year-old people.
Oh
And he
man.
said he thought it was he thought he was a Life Alert salesman. And Corey unfortunately does Holocaust, abortion, rape, and he says, I don't change my act. I thought, oh my God, Corey.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah, and needless to say, it didn't go well for Corey.
okay, I was
It
gonna
didn't.
say, did they enjoy it?
No,
Maybe.
no, it'd be like Corey coming to one of your like a Christian camp.
Yeah,
Corey, no, 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 stop,
yeah,
Corey. Yeah,
yeah.
no, I
That
think
would be
there's.
rough.
I think though, like I had a young lady on last week that was talking about it, where Netflix had her take down. She was going to be on Netflix, and they said, you have to take that down. You have to take that down. Take this stuff down, because we can't have someone on Netflix is using these obscenities and stuff. And I had no idea that.
That
You
doesn't
know.
sound correct. Have you? I mean, I've watched a lot of stuff on Netflix, and
Oh, no,
there's
no, no, no,
a lot.
no. Because she was going to be starring on a special on Netflix, there were things up on her YouTube channel and
Okay.
on other, on social media, that they had her take down. Because I asked
Oh
her about
wow.
her YouTube channel, and she said, there used to be a lot more up there, but I had to take it down because I got such a potty mouth.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I mean,
That's great.
depending on what it is, if imagine she's doing a part in a kids movie, they can't have her up there doing F this and F that.
Oh right. Okay. Okay. I see what you're saying now. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
That's
yeah, I mean, I think you have to be, and I guess the other part, Scott, is that, and I do feel strongly about this, even though I joke. Like, imagine me with Tom Padovano for a half hour.
yeah.
I knew there would be no obscenities. I knew there would be
Right.
no, and just out of respect to Tom, sure, I could have babbled off something, but no,
Yeah.
because and I do admire clean comedians.
Yeah.
It's not for me.
Right.
I'm
It's not
kidding.
for everybody. Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I know the difference.
Yeah.
In other words, you're
For
not going to
sure.
hear me do any dead baby jokes today for you.
Right. Right. There you go. Well, dead babies are funny, but
Dead babies are, the preacher just said dead babies are funny. Maybe there is time for one. No, I'm kidding.
maybe.
I like
I
that.
like your idea. So no, but to me, funny is funny. And so like
Right.
if it's dirty, if it's dirty just to be shocking or just to be
Yeah.
dirty, then
No.
usually I won't like it. But if it's funny, it's funny. It doesn't, you know what I mean? Like
Well,
it's
what just happened there is what I shoot for.
okay.
You know, in 4.5 years I've been doing this. The people that do like me, there are a few that like me.
That's
I
good.
just love when you say something and it makes me turn my head, go, what did you just say? Like there, when I
Yeah.
did that with you, that you were like, I can't believe, that's what I shoot for. And it doesn't have
Yeah.
to be an obscenity. It doesn't have to, I like some really, someone said, give me an example the other day. And I said, and it's just really stupid stuff. Cause someone said to me
Mhm.
recently about just being silly,
Yeah.
the word silly, a lot of people don't use the word silly anymore. But like
Right.
I like such silly, stupid stuff. Like, what does an ant and an elephant have in common?
What?
Neither one can ride a bike. It's
That is silly.
it's so silly and stupid, but yet people go, "Did he just say that?"
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that's what I shoot for. That's what I shoot for in my comedy, and that
yeah.
pause. And it's taken 4.5 years, and I'm still no doggone good at it. But
There you go. Well, it's funny, it's funny you said that joke. I was just my daughter. I have a daughter, and
right.
she still lives at home because the economy here is not great, and she's only 10 years old. Um, but so there you go.
But yeah, you were gonna. I saw a bit like that. You were gonna put her out.
That's
Just
right. That's
visit,
right. Yeah,
just visitor, visitor.
yeah. Just I'll go see her every now and then. Oh yeah, that was when she was 2. Yeah,
When she was 2,
that's
eight
right. I
years
forgot
later,
about
and you
that.
still
Yeah,
want to
yeah.
put her out.
That's right. I said
Poor girl.
if you don't look if you've never lived with a toddler, it's like living with a tiny version of Hitler or something. I can't
Oh
remember
my
exactly
God,
now.
yeah. No, that was
But
great.
anyway, but we were just talking this actually just this afternoon. Her friend was here and
Right,
um, she said, the joke, my daughter, it was crazy. She had this like analytical thought about
right,
the why did the chicken cross the road? She
right,
said to get to the other side. She goes, that's not funny. She goes, that's and so she was like
yeah,
asking me to explain it. So, well, no, the reason why that joke is funny, it's sort of like neither one of them can ride a bike. It's like because it's just yeah, of course that's why he crossed the road, but you don't expect it. You're
right.
expecting it to be a twist. So that's sort of like a twist on a twist because it's not a twist, but you were expecting the twist anyway.
I've
So
I've got one, believe it or not, and you can test this out on her and then let me know. Send me a message. I have one because I do quickies every day, and I have
okay,
one on my phone because I've done a lot of those. Why did the chicken cross the road? The chicken next to him farted. Because I do. Now again, that's a little. But this one has been on my phone, and I haven't put it up just because. But I love it. It's like a twist, but I think it's all delivery. I've shot it like 4 times, and I'm still not happy with it. Why did the chicken cross the road? It
what?
fell off the farmer's truck.
I
It,
like that.
it's kind of weak. I guess that's why I haven't put it up because I'm like, I don't know that that's that funny.
It's good. It's good for
It's
shorts.
all right.
Why not?
It's all right.
Yeah, yeah.
I have
So her
better.
favorite.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Her favorite all time joke is I don't know where she heard it, but
Go
it's
ahead.
why did the cow cross the road?
I don't know.
Because he wanted to go to the movies, and that's
Yeah.
her favorite joke.
Is it-
But when she first heard that joke, she didn't get it. She just thought it was a funny way to pronounce movies. So
Right.
she started doing like all these like she was like, "Hey, Daddy, why did the
Why did
monkey
the?
cross the road?" And I was like, "Why?" She goes, "He wanted to go to the grocery store." It's like that's not why that joke is funny. Like that's not.
That's
But anyway,
wonderful. That's
yeah,
funny.
it's fun.
Well, we don't
Yeah.
have a lot of time. I wanted to cover as far as favorite comedians you have now that you like.
So my two most favorite comedians of all time are both dead. One was Mitch Hedberg. Everybody loves
Right.
Mitch.
Yeah.
He's number one. Then the other is Dennis Wolfberg. Did you ever hear of him or
I know
know who
Dennis.
he was?
Yeah, Dennis, he was funny as I don't know if he's dead. You say he was
Yeah,
great.
yeah, he died quite a while ago.
I
He was
loved
the
him.
first comedian I ever saw live, and I was like, I was a kid, and again, like I started when I was in my 40s, and looking back, it's like, man, I wish I had started in my 20s or something.
Yeah.
Maybe I would have made something by now. But yeah, those two are really my two favorite all time comedians.
Yeah.
And then working comedians, I love Brian Regan, is hilarious. Gaffigan, of course.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I and then I like so I have a good friend, and he's probably one of my favorite comedians too. Joey Sad. He's relatively unknown, but he's been doing it forever, and he is hilarious. He's just, I mean, he can just bring the roof down. Um, uh, and there's a lot of people like that have just been out there for a while and working, making a living, but they just never gotten a big break or whatever.
And what was Joey's? Just he's one of your favorite comedians.
Yeah, I've worked with him a couple times, and he's just hilarious.
Okay.
And for whatever reason, just the stars have never really aligned for him. He's made a living, but he's not.
Yeah.
I think he should be huge, but
Well,
but
there's a lot of great comedians out there, and it's whether you've been doing it 20 years or doing it. I've had someone here that only been doing it 6 months or whatever, and they're just the Gwyn factor. She's only been doing it, and funny's funny. You said that earlier, and
that's
I
right.
think that's important.
Yeah.
Well, look, we don't have a lot of time left. I want to make sure we cover anything that you got that you want to mention before we go, and then we're going to do your comedy minute.
Okay. Well, I don't have any like big shows coming up, and I think probably
Okay.
most of your audience is in the U.S. anyway. But
Well,
there,
what I will include is obviously your YouTube channel. Do you do Instagram?
I do. Scott
Okay.
Shanahan, comedian, I think is
I'll
what. But
I'll I'll find the links, and if you're on,
yeah,
do you do TikTok too or no?
I don't. I need to.
Okay.
I'm really bad about.
Get your daughter to do some jokes on TikTok, and we'll
Yeah,
parlay those.
yeah. That's actually a good
But
idea.
no, I'll
Yeah.
put all the links up, and we'll make sure that we get everybody to, and
Okay.
try and help out as far as and I can't thank you enough to come, all the way from Italy to me today. But
That's I'm happy
it's
to do it.
it's been a real pleasure, and I wish you all the best. But I think you know what time it is, and you said you weren't sure, but hopefully you can make a decision.
I am.
Your
Yeah.
comedy minute, Scott Shanahan. Go ahead.
Okay. So we talked about how I live in Italy,
Right.
and I don't know. I've been here 5 years, and I don't know how much you know about Italy, but it's kind of a smaller country, especially compared to the U.S., but very
Right.
diverse. And
Okay.
like, and they even speak different, like in the different regions.
Right.
So up in the north, they speak really clearly. Like, so when they greet you, they're like buongiorno. But then
Uh,
in the south, it's more like buongiorno, y'all. No, Southern Italians really love biscuits and gravy and
okay.
everything. Um, and um, it's a fun place to live and do comedy. So and
What?
no, sorry, you made a funny face.
I make a lot of funny things. Well, because I'm still trying to buongiorno. All
Buongiorno, y'all. Buongiorno,
yeah.
y'all.
You got to have more than that, man. You got to have
I
something
do.
better than that. Okay, keep going, please.
Okay. All
Help
right.
me out here.
I am. Okay. So I've had a rough year because my dad died about a year ago today,
Okay.
and my sister and we had him cremated, and we think that's what killed him.
Thank God. Thank Thank God.
Yeah.
Hey,
No, he really did die, and I
I
do miss
don't-
him because I miss him because he was always like an uncle to me, and
Jeez Louise.
no, I my last memory of him, of course, was him. He was laying on his deathbed, and I remember he looked me right in the eyes and he said, "Can I lay someplace else?" Deathbed is not where he wanted to be at that
Yeah, right,
time. Anyway,
right.
anyway,
Oh my.
my dad was an alcoholic, and he quit drinking about 30 years before he died. And I remember I was 15 years old, and he got you. I don't know if you know this, but like if you join AA, they give you a little coin after you've been sober for 24 hours. And I remember he
Right.
got that coin. He got that coin, and I was so super proud of him. And I told him, I said, "Dad, I'm really proud of you for getting this coin." And he told me he was disappointed because they would not accept it at a liquor store. Um,
I saw that one coming. I
did
knew that
you?
one was,
Okay.
yeah, I saw that one coming. Well, my friend, I don't know.
Okay.
We're going to run out of time, but man, you got some great stuff there at the end. We should have done more of that.
Well, thank you. Okay.
No, it's
All
my
right. No,
fault.
appreciate it.
Well, you had so much we wanted to cover because you're a very interesting guy. And maybe
Well,
I'll
thank
tell
you.
you what, let's make a pact. We'll have you back on in a few months and we'll just do comedy the whole time.
That'd be great. Yeah,
And
sure.
I'll try not to say any swear words.
You, you can do
No,
whatever you'd
no,
like.
no.
It's
I
your
know
show.
I'm going to hell anyway. I
There you
will end with
go.
this just because I think this is funny. I actually, before I started doing these Zooms, I would do, and we may run out of time, it'll just cut off. But Donny Osmond said he's never sworn in his life.
Okay.
And I just thought that was
Exactly. That's what I was
everybody
actually
is
thinking.
sworn. At some point you hit yourself with a hammer or something.
Yes, I definitely cannot say that I have never sworn in my
Yeah,
life.
that's
That's for
why
sure.
it struck me as odd. Well, Scott, thank you so much. Let me stop the recording. Maybe we can chat for a minute or two off the air.
Okay.
Thank
All
you
right.
so much again for being
Thank
here.
you. Thank you to your audience, and thanks
What
again.
audience?
Yeah.
I don't have an
I
audience.
don't know.
Stay well. Thank you, bud. Hold on.
Thank you.